Well, I'm an urban planner, and I'm used to thinking about very big scales, lots and lots of people. But as is the case with just about everybody, you can daydream quite a bit, and you see the whole universe in little things. You can see every problem in little things. You can see every solution in little things. And I was daydreaming about something about a year ago, and I just thought it might be sort of fun to talk about it this morning. Don't worry, it's not quite as serious as this. So we are living in a polarized world. We really feel it day to day. The whole global order is shifting. There are amazing tensions that are developing along fault lines. Are there axes of cultural convergence? And what would the future look like in that case? The fault lines are actually something that was identified by one of my favorite writers, Samuel Huntington. And about 20 years ago, he wrote an extraordinary piece in Foreign Affairs magazine. And what he basically said is the source of conflict in our days and in the future will not be over economic issues, they won't be over ideological issues, they will be over cultural issues. And he identified, something like 8 or 9 different cultural fault lines. And what he was saying is that the conflicts, the tensions will not occur within the culture, but they will occur at the boundaries between the different cultures. There are many countries, for example, that are Western. There are many countries that are Islamic, and the tensions are at the boundaries of those. Incidentally, there's only one country that is only its own culture, and that's Japan, Shinto culture. Anyway, so that's very interesting. And you can see how that sort of plays out over in history. Extraordinary source of conflict in the future. Even this is starting to change in the last 20 years. But is there potentially another kind of order? Nothing political. How about electrical sockets and plugs? The whole world is divided into 110 volts and 220 volts. We have 12 different plug types. And each of these plug types, if you think about it, are the echoes of colonial life, post-war reconstruction after the First War, repartitioning, Second War, and you can start to see a remapping of world order based on plug types, or maybe it's possible. So we have type A, the cowboy, the loner, the independent force, does not like to be interfered with, and we have plug type A. Very simple, two-pronged, non-grounded, very easy to move around. It is freedom, baby. This is what it's all about. We have type G. After the Second World War, there was very little copper to go around, and the Brits came up with this ingenious, very, very powerful plug. It requires the strength of a British Marine to extract it from the wall. And basically what it does is instead of allowing fuses to exist centrally, it makes a fuse in every plug. That's the type G plug. The original plug, type D, had 3 separate sizes, was unfused. It was the old school British plug, which incidentally, British has left with its former colony, India. So India still runs the British plug. We have the Australian plug, very similar to the American plug. Independent, charismatic, slightly different, slightly angled. American, Australian, they're sort of the same, they're sort of different. We have France, so elegant. Beautiful plug. So slender. Slightly insulated. Slightly tapering, 1.5 degrees, so that it doesn't come out of the wall. Minimal. Beautiful. Close relative to the French plug, type L Italian plug. Like the French plug, but allowing for a grounded pole right on the central axis of the 2 other plugs. Not bad. Then we come to Germany, type F. To me, Germany is about art house cinema. It's about sort of metrosexual longing in culture, and they have a plug which is sort of metrosexual. Male and female in the plug, male and female in the outlet. It is all coming together in a very, very special German way. The Russian plugs, close ally to the German plug, more rugged, more independent, and more importantly, they can modify their terrain. So they have round plugs, but lots and lots of homemade modifications to allow the Russian plug to basically fit into any plug. It's just a little bit of hard ingenuity and movement on the ground makes it possible. Israeli plugs. Israel is the only country whose plug does not fit into anyone else's socket. And you wonder why. It looks sort of like the other plugs, but it doesn't quite fit. So, how do we get all these cultures to get along? How do we find ways for them to fit into each other without having to go through adapters and everything else? People have been thinking about this for quite some time. Is there an emerging standard that would allow everybody to come together? Is there a common electrical language, for example? Well, actually, there is. There is a universal standard that people are working on right now. It's a slight modification of a number of the plugs that we've seen. Look how nice it would all fit into one single outlet, very, very slender. Will this work? Is this the future? Probably not. Why? Like Esperanto, it requires everybody to stop what they're doing and adopt a new standard. It may be perfect, it may be rational, but it is not necessarily the way things need to go. Are there other standards for plugs? Maybe something that crosses national lines. It's about consumption, it's about industry, it's about access to information that doesn't follow post-colonial partition. Or maybe there are no plugs, there's no wires, like inductions charging. This is a Westinghouse demonstration from 2008. Can you charge something without a plug? Personally, I'm not sure about any of that, and I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about China, especially China maybe 20 years ago. Open for business, says hello to everyone, well somehow in a very pragmatic way, they'll make it work. And they came up with their plug, which was sort of like the Australian plug, except upside down. Maybe because it's a different hemisphere, I don't know. But what I got out of this is actually an emerging outlet type that basically takes everyone's plug, but doesn't require them to change too much, but it receives everybody. So going back to Samuel Huntington and being a little bit serious about this, I think there are really sort of 4 takeaways from this thing. First of all, to be successful, you open yourself up to differences. That's the main point. You emphasize trade and exchange. What can you give? What can you get back? We shouldn't be treating others the way we want to be treated. We should treat others the way they want to be treated. And finally, we all want to share power. It's an essential component of who we are. We should make it as easy as possible for others to connect into us as it is for us to connect into them. So anyway, this is a little bit of a history of plugs, but it goes back to some bigger ideas. Thank you very much.